Hello everyone. In this very video, we are going to be looking at simple harmonic motion of a simple pendulum. Now, the first we are going to be looking at is the period of a simple pendulum. Okay. In this very video, I didn't bug us with the proof, but T is equal to the period of a simple pendulum is 2 pi root L over G. That is T equal to 2 pi root L over G. Now our T here stands for period, L is for the length of the pendulum, and G is acceleration due to gravity. Now consequently, we can see that T1 over T2 is equal to square root of L1 over L2. How do we say that? If you look at this equation again, you can see that the relationship between T, 2 pi is a constant, 2 pi here is a constant, G here is a constant, so the relationship between the period and the length is that T is proportional to the square root of the length. And if T is proportional to the square root of the length, then it means that T1 over T2 is equal to square root of L1 over L2. Now we look at an example, a calculation here. It says a small bulb of mass 20 gram oscillates as a simple pendulum with amplitude 5 centimeter and period of 2 seconds. So find I, the maximum velocity of the bulb, then II, the length of the simple pendulum. Now, bringing out the terms here, you can see that the mass from the question is 20 grams, and 20 grams divided by 1000 will give us 0.02 kilograms. Then the amplitude is 5 centimeter. That's the amplitude, an amplitude of 5 centimeter. 5 centimeter converting to SI unit, which is meter, you divide by 100 to get 0.05. Then the period, okay, we are given a period of 2 seconds. So the period T is 2 seconds. Now, the first question we asked to find is the maximum velocity. And from previous video, we saw that the maximum velocity of a simple harmonic motion is omega A. But in this case, omega is angular frequency. In this case, we are not given omega, but we also know that omega is 2 pi all over T. So omega is equal to 2 pi all over period. Now also remember that we can write it as 2 pi times F. But in this case here, 2 pi over period. Okay? So if we substitute, so that means omega A, 2 pi, omega is 2 pi over T, then multiplied by A, which is the amplitude. Now, if we do that, it means that we are going to have 2 times 3.14. Okay, let me use the space here. 2 times 3.14. Now, divided by the period is 2, then multiplied by the amplitude. The amplitude is 0.05. Now, if I calculate that with my calculator, we are going to be getting 0.1571. Okay, so the unit is meters per second. Now that leads us to the next question. It says we should find the length of the simple pendulum. Now, if we go back to our equation of the period of a simple pendulum, remember that period T is equal to 2 pi root L over G. So I know my period, we know our period, we know acceleration due to gravity is always constant, which is 10 meters per second, approximately. Then we have our 2 pi. Now, if we want to make L the subject of the formula, the first thing we do here is to square both sides. So squaring both sides here, we are going to get T squared is equal to 4 pi squared L all over G. Okay, and now that is going to be giving us L to be equal to T squared G cross multiplying T squared G all over 4 pi squared. Okay, so substituting values here, we see that our T is 2, so 2 squared times your G is 10 seconds, divided by 4 times your pi is 3.14, then we have squared. So you can calculate that to give you your final answer, but we can say it is 80 pi squared if I put it in terms of pi. You know, You can send me your answer after making that calculations. Now, that leads us to another example here. We are given that the period of a simple pendulum is 4 seconds when its length is 120 centimeter. Find the length that gives a period of 12 seconds. So in this case now, you know it has to do with relationship. When the period is 4 seconds, the length was 120 centimeter. But now we are asked to find the length when the period is 12 seconds. So obviously we have to use this formula here. And our T1 is 4 seconds. Our our L1, which is the initial length, is 1.2 meters. Our T2 is 12 seconds, and our L2 is what we are looking for, the length when the period is 12 seconds. Now let's make substitution. Now if we substitute, your T1 here is going to give us is 4 all over your T2 is 12, now equal to square root of your L1 is 100, okay, 1.2. We convert 120 centimeter to 1.2 meters. Now divided by L2, we don't know what our L2 is. Now 4 over 12 is the same thing as 1 over 3 because 4 can go in 12 to give us 3 times, equal to square root of 1.2 all over L2. Okay, now the next is to square both sides. If we square both sides, we are going to get 1 over 9 is equal to 1.2 all over L2. Squaring the square root will cancel out the square root, okay? So if we cross multiply, you can see here now that our L2 is going to give us 9 times 1.2. And 9 times 1.2 is 10.8 meters. That's the answer to that question. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. You can always reach to me through my number 0806-128-5313. Thank you and God bless. See you in the next class. Okay.